His new book, Lessons for Bobby 10 Reasons Why Robert F. Kennedy Still Matters, has just been published. You know him from his work as a host and contributor to MSNBC. Chris Matthews joined us on Jersey Magazine. Chris, let me start with this. How did someone like Bobby Kennedy, coming from an elite American family, get so many people to identify with him from all across the spectrum, both racial and economic?
Or it may have been Jack Newfield or some of the columnists who wrote when he spent his life with diplomats and celebrities and astronauts and mountain climbers, and he was killed reaching for the hand of a $75 a week dishwasher because that's how he spent his life. And I think he had, I guess this is it. He said, I was the seventh kid of a nine kid family. When you're born that late in the line, it's very hard to survive. His dad called him the runt of the litter. Imagine your dad saying, you're the runt of the litter. He wasn't a 6-footer like Jack or Joe Jr. or Teddy. He was not quite as handsome. Wasn't good looking, of course, but he didn't look like his brothers. They didn't look like fabulous males, but he identified with people. He was an enlisted guy in the military. He wasn't an officer. That's a big difference. He hung out with the jocks at Harvard. He got into Harvard, of course, the usual way with old money, but he was hanging out with the jocks. He quit the social clubs. He didn't like them. I think he naturally went with people who had life a little more difficult than he'd had. And I think he found his way to the people. You know, the SEC, just to be a guy's kind of conversation here, what do you think the SEC is? You think it's integrated? I'd say it is. Give me a break. Those schools are loaded with backfield. They know what they're doing because they're integrated. And guess who did it? Bobby Kennedy. What an irony. What an irony. He integrated those schools. He fought it out with Ross Barnett, the governor of Ole Miss, who said that boy ain't going to go to Mill. Oh, but he actually said that boy. He actually said it, and Bobby made it. They have a statue of him down there at the Ole Miss campus in Oxford, and he did the same thing with George Wallace. And at the same time, this is why I like him. He was a tough law and order cop. He said law and order. He used the phrase. He said, I want people to obey the law. And when Martin Luther King was killed, after he gave that incredible speech in Indianapolis, he's sitting with his daughter, Carrie, who told me to my face, he said he was looking at the D.C., of Washington, D.C., being burnt to the ground. He said, this is wrong. He said, these people should not be doing this. So he's a tough liberal. There are not many of them around. You know, they're not out there all talking about George Soros and helping out the district attorneys and all that. He actually believed in law and order. At the same time, he's for human rights, and he was always for it. So, or he began, as he said, before I was Attorney General, I didn't lose much sleep over Negroes. I mean, he was of his time, and he changed, like he did in the Vietnam War. He did. He changed.
You mentioned that, when he was Attorney General. What do you think was the defining moment where he realized about the injustice that was going on? Because you quote him in the book as saying, I didn't know much about all this injustice. What was the turning point for him, Chris?
Well, he sent John Siegenthaler, his administrative assistant, his top aide, down to follow the Freedom Riders as they're going into Alabama. And they're getting beaten up, the Freedom Riders. They're mostly blacks, not all. And his assistant, John Siegenthaler, later became a newspaper publisher in Tennessee. He got his head bashed in, just like Paul Pelosi, bashed in with a pipe. He lay on the street for a half hour before the cops would even take him to a hospital. And that's when Bobby changed. That's when Harry Belafonte said that's when he changed. That's what John Lewis said that's when he changed. When somebody close to him got beat up, and the cops let it happen. And I think that's a big part of it. I think it was human experience. Like in most cases, most people learn from experience. He did too.
One of the things that came across my mind, Chris, as I was reading through the book is how much things have not changed in the country. You think, we keep hearing, we've never been more divided. And you go back to this period of time and you think of, Medgar Evers, and you have Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and John Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy all being murdered within about a 5-year span. Yeah. Like, hello.
All young guys too, Jim. I mean, all these guys, Martin Luther King wasn't 40. Jack was 46. Bobby was 42. And no, they're just starting. They were just starting. And I know personally, I never got over Jack Kennedy's killing. I mean, I was at Holy Cross at the time at college. I can tell you, I was watching Cronkite for hours. I just sat there stunned. And then when Bobby was killed, it was a strange thing. I was up with a friend of mine who was up in Canada, in Montreal, looking for a job, like some people were at the time. I wasn't. And realizing, hey, this is a replay. I'm listening on the radio in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. And I said, this is Dallas, 1960. No, no, this isn't Dallas, 60. This is new. His brother's just been killed. And it was a stunning. I tell, there was no pageantry, no horses, no parade bands, no music when Bobby died. Just loss on that train ride, from New York to Washington, where the white and black faces were out there. It was just sad. And I think that's the way people feel about him. They felt empathy for a guy. They really do think he was the guy that Arthur Schlesinger said. Jack Kennedy looked like a guy who never needed protection. Bobby was one we wanted to protect. We wanted to save him.
The book is called Lessons from Bobby, 10 Reasons Why Robert F. Kennedy Still Matters. Chris Matthews, congratulations on the book, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me in New Jersey.